All right, welcome and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me. My name is Ryan Overton, and this is the inaugural stream of Developers Garage. This stream is devoted to exploring tools, technologies, and patterns developers use on a daily basis or don't use, and we're basically going to walk through these together, learn more about them, and hopefully make you developers a better, more productive developer and hopefully ease your life a little bit. I'm your host, Ryan Overton. I've been doing development for approximately about 11 years, but I've been playing around with development for probably since I was 10 when I got my first PC and got onto DOS playing games, doing batch development. And like you, I've been hacking around playing with code, and I love it. It's something I get to do for a hobby and for work, and so I am blessed in that way. But I love to learn, hopefully like you, and so this is my chance to be able to explore new tools, new things that I've been wanting to do for a long time, as well as improve myself and expand my skill set across. Because as we all know, development it's an ever-changing industry, and you can never know everything. So that's going to take us into our rules, the rules of the road, the rules of the stream. Be kind, be courteous, be forgiving. We're all new, we all learn, we're all learning. So let's not make fun of, bash on, talk bad about anybody else's tools that they're using or the tools that I choose to use. I'm a big boy, I can take it, but let's just be kind, because we all know, learning growing up, that if somebody's bashing on you for what you're doing or how you're doing it, that it's not a very good environment. It's not enjoyable. And so we're all here to just have fun, learn, and hack around on some new things. If the audio is too loud or too soft, please let me know, chat room. I may look over and check you out every now and then. Maximus Ponus, thank you for the call out on the avatar. That was by @ReverentGeek, David Neal. I met him when I was at KCDC this past 2018 summer. One of the best things I was able to do was to go out there and talk about the things I love. I have an affinity toward mobile development, specifically Xamarin. I am a Microsoft developer by trade, and I have been doing that for most of my career. So a lot of the things I may do, a lot of the tools I may use are Microsoft based, but that does not mean that's everything that we are going to use throughout this stream. Like I said, we're here to explore new tools and changes to existing tools. So if that means trying to use Vim and Emacs, I cringe a little bit. I've heard horror stories of those. If people want to learn and see it, I'll load it up and we'll try it out. We'll get it started. But for the most part, I probably will stick to Visual Studio Code, and a couple of those other things. I may bounce to a Mac. Right now, my Mac is a little old. It takes a little while to run. I want to keep the stream about an hour and a half. If I use my Mac, it may take about 3 or 4 hours to get things done by the time everything compiles, loads up, and all that. So unless I get a newer Mac, which right now that's not in the cards, then we may explore that more. But a lot of stuff we're doing can be done using Visual Studio Code on the Mac. It could be using Visual Studio for Mac as well. A lot of the stuff we're doing will be going into that. So I will typically have an agenda for the stream, a plan of what we want to do. But the idea is that if there's something you want to talk about or questions you have, throw them in the chat room and I will be happy to answer them. If I don't know the answer, guess what? We're going to take a tangent, we'll dive in, and we'll figure it out together. Because again, this is all about learning, and again, I don't know everything. I'm not going to try and pretend to know everything. So hopefully someone in the chat room can help us out. If they can't, like I said, we'll go ahead and dive on in. So today's stream, we're going to be looking at a couple of different things. Right now on the list, I saw this great Twitter post by, where'd it go? Get it pulled up here. By @BitandBang. And let me go ahead and we'll transition and we'll all take a look at it together. There it is. And I'm still figuring out this green screen thing, so if you do see things start to fade in and out, that's because I don't have the lighting figured out just yet. I've tried a couple different things, tried a couple different settings, and every time I think I get it perfect, it's not. So we'll go ahead and just ignore that, hopefully, over my shoulder here. And brush that off. Maybe if I move over here, it kind of goes away. There we go. I'll get this lighting thing figured out. I got the green screen, I got the camera, I got the fancy mic. I say it's fancy. It's way better than the headset mic I was using. It is a Blue Yeti, got a nice blue arm for it as well. I love it. It was pretty quick and easy to set up, and I'm thankful that my lovely wife and family got that for me for Christmas. It's kind of one of the things that I thought has been holding me back from launching a stream. But if you are thinking about going into a stream, launching a stream, wanting to do something for yourself, do this, just go for it. Just put yourself out there. That's the only way you can begin. I wish I had done this when I first thought about it 6 months ago after watching Jeff Fritz at C# Fritz. He is kind of one of the inspirations I had for actually doing this. I thought I wanted to create videos, training videos and stuff, but just going out there and hacking away in front of everybody, it appealed to me. As scary as it is a lot different than speaking. I've enjoyed and I actually love going and speaking at conferences, but usually you have an audience sitting there to gauge the reaction of how everything's going. Here, I'm sitting in my office with no one around me, looking at a screen and a camera, and hoping that you all think I'm kind of funny. I am a dad, so I do have dad jokes. I will apologize in advance. They will probably not go away, but they will be around for a while. All right. So here we have the actual Git repo that BitandBang published. And what it does is it actually produces what's called an NPM card. So what is an NPM card? So let's take a look at it. Pull up my DOS window here. Oh, bounce between Linux and DOS. Sometimes I forget my commands. So really what we want to do is we want to be able to create something like this. And bang. And forgive me if you see me looking down at my keyboard. My hands tend to wander off the home row and things just start typing out weird. So as you can see on the screen here, Tierney Cyren. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. If not, please let me know and I will do my best to make sure I get it right the next time. So Tierney Cyren created this. It's basically an NPM module. So for those of you who don't know what NPM, it's Node Package Manager. It's the package management utility for JavaScript. It has millions and millions of packages stored on it, and people use it religiously on a daily basis. If you're familiar with Microsoft and .NET, that's kind of where your area is, you'll know NuGet. NPM, I first found about it when I started doing web development. That's where a lot of the stuff comes in. So he is a cloud developer advocate at Microsoft focused around Node.js. So that's why you see him using NPM. Now, NPX is another module, but it's for actually running. So Node Package Execution. That's what the X stands for, I believe. And so what it does is it lets you take a package that's out there and it'll run it. And here you can see that there is a a package out there called Bit and Bang. And all it does is it produces this output right here, which just looks like a business card. I thought it was kind of cool. Being a tech guy, I like having techie things. And so having a tech business card like this was really kind of appealing to me. So for my first stream, I decided, you know what? Let's go explore this. Let's see how easy this really is. And so we'll take a look here. So he actually created this. This is a downloadable repo from GitHub. I'll post links to this in the stream. So this is being recorded. If you can't stay for everything, I fully understand. I'm actually going to publish this out to YouTube. So we do have a YouTube channel. If you follow me on Twitter at RyanO, RYANO 9791, I'll be posting through that. I also have at Devs Garage, and I'll be posting stuff out to there. So we'll be putting some of that information into the Twitch stream, the Twitch page, and like I said, I'll be posting things out to Twitter, and also have a GitHub repo for us to use. So you could download this. One of the things, though, I did see when I was, perusing was that another gentleman out there goes by JChip, Joel Chen. He actually created an NPM package that will easily create this for you. Oh, look at there. Brower in the house. How you doing, sir? Thank you for joining. A lot of my work people are here, so if you're watching this in the future, please send me the lotto numbers, because I really like to win something someday. I don't win a lot, but I appreciate everybody who's joining me. Your support is what's going to actually keep me doing this. I didn't say it earlier. I want to make this a weekly thing, so same bat time, same bat channel, and I will try to be able to come up with something different. My goal is to create something every week that can be built upon. So starting with a simple project and just expanding on it and learning things as we go. So I was talking earlier that JChip, Joel Chen, created something, an inspiration from Tierney. And so he made it real easy for us to create this. And so what we're going to do is he gives us a few little things. Now, so his instructions say, just run npm init my card. So not being a JavaScript guy and not being fully familiar with npm, I ran this and I'll show you what I got. We'll see if it... We'll see what it does. Init my dash card. So he doesn't quite go into exactly what this is supposed to do. I did a little bit of research ahead of time, so I didn't sound totally ignorant whenever I was doing this. Oh, look at that. It actually works. So one of the things I will make sure I'm going to tell you is, before you start doing this, make sure you update your NPM version and your Node version, to the latest. When I was testing this out earlier, that was something that I did not do, and so I did not get the experience like he did here. So before we move a little bit further, I'm going to let you know a little bit what I found about this npm init. So this npm init is actually running a command behind it called npx, the np node package execution program. And the init is kind of the shortcut to say, I want you to preface it with create. So we can see here that Mr. Chen, JChip, has create-my-card. So what it's doing here is just prefacing my-card, the package you're looking at, with create-, and it's executing it. And what JChip's package here is doing, it's actually going to create everything we need for us after we answer a few little questions. So it's going to create an index file. It's going to create all the source code files we need to actually just publish this out to NPM. Let's find out how easy that actually does, how easy that actually is. So let's go ahead and answer these questions. So I've done it a little bit before, and as you can see here, I'm actually going to back out of that because I want to go ahead and create a new directory here. It's clear CLS DOS commands again. So we're going to make a new directory called dev stream. And this is where I'm going to store all my code that we do on the stream. And like I said, I will be publishing all this out to GitHub as well. So as we go through projects that we can build upon, you as the audience, my viewership, fellow developers can help me improve it. So part of this is let's go out, let's create pull requests. Let's improve the code, not just on the stream, but at other times as well when it's convenient for you. So this is ultimately, I want to make it community driven. I don't want to be the one out here just writing all the code and you all just watching me. I never learned well that way. I always learned by doing. So with your help, we'll be able to make some great, awesome solutions. One thing that I did not go into this kind of stuff we're going to be doing. When I said exploring tools, technologies, and practices, that's everything from development to web to mobile, IoT, cloud, whether it be Azure or I really wanted to learn a little bit about AWS, so we'll throw in some AWS. Also, how do we manage workflow, software development lifecycle? So we'll be going, and I will try and type and talk at the same time here. So we'll be going into all of that. How do we start a project? Where do we store things? How do we get to DevOps? So we've heard Mr. Donovan Brown out there talking about rub a little DevOps on it. What does that mean? Automation. So how do we automate this? How do we make it simple for us that we can repeat this process without the mundane tasks over and over again? If you've been developing for any time, you know there are things out there that are just repetition. You do the same steps over and over again. Well, guess what? There are automation task runners out there. There are cloud solutions that you can set all this up. The moment you check it in, it runs a series of tests, builds, steps, all this stuff to give you that final package at the end. And we're going to talk all about that. All right. So what did he want us to do here? So he wanted us to run NPM init my card. My-card. It's going to ask us a few little questions here. All right, I'm just checking out my my broadcasting system here to make sure the stream seems to be going smoothly. If it ever starts getting choppy or whatever, please let me know. I will do what I can to see if we can't make it better. All right, so please enter your name. Oh, you know what? One thing I'm kind of maybe figuring out here is that you may not be able to read that on the stream. So let's... Anybody know how we can increase the font size of our... There, let's see. Okay, that's the cursor. Font, here we go. Let's bump it up a little bit here. Let's try that. 24. Oh no. Wow, that's interesting. Oh, here we go. Not sure what that was, but hopefully you all can read that. It looks to be a little bit clearer on the stream now. So, if there is anything ever too small that you can't read, please let me know. Looks good. Green screen gets fuzzy on your right shoulder. Yeah, I suck at lighting right now. Thank you, Mr. Brower. And I'm going to get better at that. I just got to order me some pot lights, some kind of accent lighting here to make my green screen all the same color. That way it kind of fades in and out. Let's see. Can we brush it off? It worked a little bit. Wow. That's pretty kind of amazing. Oh, it's going to do it all the time. We're not going to worry about it, though. We'll work on it the next time around. All right. My name. We're going to say, my name's Ryan Overton. Actually, we're going to go in. Let's do the developer's garage here. My handle. Okay. So what is my handle? So a lot of times my handle has been, we're going to go with the developer's garage here. You'll find me on GitHub at Onyx Prime. I am a Transformers fan. And so it's tough finding nicknames nowadays. handles. I mean, everybody's used up all the good ones. So I just find out what I can get. My Twitter handle, RyanO9791. Yeah, not very creative. I was just getting into Twitter, trying to figure out what it was. Wasn't going to be a thing for me. Turns out it's a thing. But all the good names were taken. And I feel like it may be a little too late to change it. But maybe we'll try. But we're going technology enthusiast. That'd be an awesome job title, wouldn't it? No, not an enthusiast. Technology advocate. You know what? That's what we do here. We're advocating for technology. All the good, all the bad. So this NPM package name for your card, we're going to leave it as Developer's Garage. So the nice thing is he does give you some hints. He tries to figure some things out. All I got to do is press enter here. Oh, the package name is longer than what it's and it can't contain capital letters. Name can no longer contain, so let's just do Developers Garage. Repo name, we're going to call it Developers Garage. We're actually going to change that a little bit here because I want it to be a little bit more specific to what we're talking about here. It's going to be a Dev Garage card. Probably could have made NPM card. So my NPM ID, I'm going to use my personal one. In order to actually publish to NPM, you have to create, login, all this other kind of stuff. I did that personally to test things out earlier, so we're just going to use that. But to actually just use NPM, you don't have to have it. So we're going to go with Onyx Prime was my NPM ID. GitHub ID. What are we using for GitHub? Did we get Developers Garage? Let's look here. I got some things on GitHub. Trying to get things set up. I think I had to get Dev's Garage. Let's see what it says. Yes, this is me. So Dev's Garage is our GitHub ID. Twitter ID. I did get Developers Garage for Twitter ID, I believe. Let's check that out. Developers Garage. No. That may be Dev's Garage as well. That's not it. So I'll have to figure out what I set up for my my Twitter here. We'll go ahead and just use my personal Twitter. And we're going to use Onyx Prime. No. I may get that one. It's not what I have, though. So LinkedIn ID. We're going to use my LinkedIn ID because Developers Garage doesn't have one. And it's just RP Overton. And my homepage. So Developers Garage doesn't have a homepage yet. If that's something we may end up doing, you know. I mean, learn how to create a homepage for a fictitious company. Maybe this turns into a thing. But we're going to go with the beautiful Onyx Prime at github.io. So one of the great things about GitHub, other than having free private repositories, as well as free public repositories, is you can actually host a website from it. And they provide Jekyll as their static site generator. And they give you this nice URL, onyxprime.github.io. But I can also change that and point my actual URL, if I had one, to there. So it allows me to basically host everything I need in GitHub. And it builds it and runs it for me for free. I'm all about free. I'm kind of cheap. And there we go. My NPM card has been created. So let's take a look at it. All right. So let's pop this up a little bit. All right. So created a directory for me, Dev Garage. And inside there, it has caps lock. Dit. Yeah, I am sometime a ditz. All right. I promise I'll be nice to myself because if everybody needs to be nice, we should all be nice to each other as well. All right, on time. We're doing pretty good on time. All right. So it created a few files in here for me. You know what? I can't really see things very well. I'm going to use one of my favorite editors. So if you've never used VS Code, once you get it installed and you're at the command line, it's real easy to go ahead and say, you know what? In here, I want to just go ahead and start looking at here. I don't have to open the program and then go hunt and find out where this is. I can do code dot, and it's going to open up the current folder for me inside Visual Studio Code. And in here, we are able to actually just look at all the code, everything that was generated for us. All right, let me blow that font up. Let's see, Control plus. There we go. All right, I'm just going to watch that on stream, make sure everything looks big enough here. And so, yeah, that looks good. So it created a few things for us. It created our package.json, which has a lot of the stuff that Node's going to use. Name, version number, a description. So this is a personal NPM card for Developers Garage. It's going to be the main where everything's going to be hosted, set up. Unpackage is another way. I'm not sure if it's a site or if it's independent of NPM, but what it basically does is will deconstruct a package, and then whatever's listed here, it's actually going to display that in the browser. So that's kind of cool. So what it's going to do is once we build and publish this, it's actually going to create an index.html file, and that'll be basically a representation of our card as well. So we won't just have to run it from the command line and see the card. We'll be able to go to unpackage and tell it our package name, and it will unpack it for us. The repository, kind of the repository URL where things will be stored. Excuse me. Some scripts that are run. If you're familiar with Grunt, Gulp, task runners, this should be very familiar. This is what NPM is going to run in certain situations. Pre-publish only is going to happen basically before we publish it. Obviously pre-publish, so it's going to run it. There's some things in here we'll need to change that we'll go over in just a minute. I don't want to get too deep into it. Just the bin file, certain files, keywords that when we upload it to NPM, keywords that'll be listed in the package itself. Obviously the author, the license it's under, any dependencies. So one of the cool things is this is going to use Webpack. So Webpack is actually going to take away a lot of these dependencies. And down here, this is actually the info that's actually used to generate our card. So you can see it contains all the information that we filled out earlier, as well as it's got, it's using another JavaScript library to actually set the colors for all this. So if you do ever want to come back and changing this information, it's real easy. Just come back, hit the package JSON, change the information you need, build, republish, and boom, it's updated. So it is that simple. So here's our webpack config.js. So I'm not a webpack guy, so this honestly means very little to me. But if you're out there and you understand it, that's awesome. But what this looks like is like a lot of build instructions as it does, as it packs everything. Oh, yes, I keep getting that with code. I'm not sure why. I'm bad. I tend to just click close instead of trying to figure out what's going on. Probably because it doesn't impact me at this time. At some point it will, and I'll have to figure it out. And maybe we'll be on the stream and we'll be able to figure it out together. All right, so that's the code in a nutshell. There's some more source files here. It's got the base HTML, card.js. Here's a couple of the other libraries that we were talking about earlier. Here's the make card. What this is actually going to build your card for you. It's going to go in, take this HTML file. It's going to start dumping all the elements inside this card. So let's go to the next step. Head back to our, so what does he want us to do? So we did npm init my card. So it gave us the repo. Now he wants us to do npm install. Whoa, where'd that come from? So let's run npm install. What this is going to do is going to take that package JSON, look at all the dependencies, and it's actually going to go out and download all the npm stuff into a new folder called Node Modules. If you're not familiar with web development, Node Modules is where everything, all your Node packages are stored. So we talked about NPM as the Node package manager. And so it stores all the packaged modules inside this Node Modules directory. It's going to install a lot, probably a lot more than you need. But here's the thing is, usually when people install something, it has its own dependencies. And so it's kind of a vicious chain reaction. Good thing is there are great ways to filter some of this stuff out. Oh, forgive me. There's actually, I have a new puppy in the house, and so she likes to sleep under my feet. So whenever I move around a little bit, she moves around. So if you do hear a dog or see me start looking down and talking, that's probably who I'm talking to. I'm not crazy. Well, maybe a little bit. Wow. This is one thing I always hate about NPMs, especially on fresh new projects. An NPM install can take a little while depending on what it's installing. If you're familiar with, well, you love it when your mind goes blank. Angular. So that's where I really got a little bit more familiar with NPM, was when I started using Angular and downloading stuff that way. And so that takes a while. All right, look at that. I like it. I like it. This, I will be honest, when I was running my tests earlier, this stuff never came up. So again, please update your Node version and your NPM version to the latest stable version, unless you have other reasons not to, because it will ease your pain in dealing with some of this stuff. That goes for any technology. If you're running on something that's 5 years old, it may not work the way it's expected with some of the stuff today. So always try to stay up to date. All right, so let's look over here real quick. All right, so in order to test this, see what it's going to look like, we're just going to run Node. So Node is a way that you can run your websites. It's what do I want to call it? It's not an operating system. It's an environment that we use to host our applications. Think IIS. If you're experienced with Windows, it's running your web application. So we're going to do node source/card because that's where all our stuff is. Boom, look at that. So pretty simple, pretty nice. Kind of like that. So there we go, Developer's Garage. Tells you all about it, tells you a little bit about it. So we're going to do a couple other things. So here over the past couple years, it's almost 2 years now, I've been looking at Git. I am not a Git person. I can hear, but video is choppy, stream is freezing. Oh man, I wonder if that's what's caused by our little node. So, hey, Mr. Brower, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. I will watch this. My bet is that my NPM download kind of interfered just a little bit with the video, because it looks like I did drop about 114 frames. So, may have another option. I've heard a couple people that use a separate machine for actually their development and stuff like that. They actually use remote desktop. So we may look into that. Right now, this is all running off my personal gear, and I have one laptop. I have a work one, but I haven't asked for permission yet to see if I can use it for some of this. Probably end up what I'll do. But I just want to make sure everything's kosher. It's definitely good to know, to see that, when I start doing some of this stuff, that is effective. So, all right, so there it is. So the next thing we want to do, we want to use Git. So I was talking about Git before. When I was doing source control, I started out with TFS. Git was, for me, it was very, very hard to understand, very hard to get going. I was actually it was very command line driven. And at the time, I had been on Windows XP, Windows 95, 98 for a while. And I really stopped using the command line. And so a lot of the applications that were used for Git, and we're able to use do source control with Git. It kind of it was a little much for me as a new developer. So TFS was Microsoft. It made sense. That's what I did, and it was just, like I said, easier for me to get going on. And so I started with TFS. It was all GUI. It was no command line really, all done by the GUI, which was very nice and easy for me. So I just started off there. Kept going. I was able to actually convince myself that there's a good flow to getting to using source control with TFS. Unfortunately, I don't say unfortunately, my eyes opened probably about a couple years ago when I started thinking about building and testing applications. So when you build and test, you want to make sure you test off the same bits every time. So here's the thing. If I move code from environment to environment and I rebuild it every time, those are new bits. Potential untested changes have snuck in there. So it's very hard for me to say I can just deploy something out of my production branch if I've really only tested if I rebuild that for every branch. So one thing about Git, it's nice. I can move all that code through the different environments, through the different branches, and know that it's been tested because I don't have to rebuild it. And so that's actually incorrect. That's not what Git does. Got ahead of myself. I started talking about workflow, and that's really not what Git is. Git is source control. Git is a way to track the changes you have, and it provides a great way to actually, through the pull request mechanism, to review your changes before they're committed to the branch. So previously, I had to create my own branch, do all my changes, and then I would have to actually do, I can't remember if I did a diff or what. I would actually have to check into all those changes in, and then somebody was not really able to tell what I changed. And it was very frustrating. There was not a really good way to do it. When I got turned on to Git and the pull request workflow, I was like, my eyes opened. I was like, wow, this is awesome. Git is still a little foreign to me. I am starting doing a lot more things on the command line now, i.e. you can look and see what I'm doing here. But long story short, we're going to be using Git because we're going to store everything on GitHub. GitHub. Makes sense. All right. It's really easy to get going. So get in it. All right. What that did is just initialized our repository. So do I want to do this? Sure, why not? Let's look at it. All right. Wow, 2 of them. I only want 1 though. C:/dev stream, dev garage. All right, so you see a new folder here, Git. This is actually what's controlling where I'm at versus where the head of the repository is, meaning the latest changes. So I can have my own personal branch, or I can have changes that have not been committed. Excuse me. And I'll be able to do a differential to see what the differences are compared to the head. And when I commit and it gets approved, then the head changes and moves forward. The other way is I can actually roll all that back. Oh, Mr. Brower and your source control. Yes, I know. I finally have seen the light. And what you get is you also get a git ignore. So sometimes we have a bunch of files, i.e., we don't want to do that, i.e. this node modules. We don't want to check that in. Because what we don't want somebody getting nefarious and going in and changing a few things in here. And that being checked in our source control. What we want is we want to trust the actual source system. Always trust the source. And so we exclude that. So if we look at this, let's go to code real quick. Our git ignore file. So it's telling us already, it says, hey, I know you got a node modules file or a folder. We want to ignore that. You got a dist folder. This is a distribution. So when I publish something, it's going to create a dist folder. We don't want to check in our compiled bits if there are any. We want to make sure our build system that we set up is going to do that. If you're a new developer, or you're a solo developer, you can build and publish from your system, but you're always running a risk. because it always works on your machine. If your machine crashes, what's going to happen? You're going to have to go get a new one. And guess what? You're going to have to spend all the time configuring it and setting up the way you had your other one set up. There are some other things that can help with that, but if you use a build system hosted in a cloud environment, you're pretty safe that it's going to, if it builds out there, you can always get the code from wherever, change it, push it up, and it'll build and work every time. So, who was it? Friends don't let friends right-click publish. I can't remember who first said that, but it makes sense. And I'm going to go with that philosophy because I like build systems. I like safety. All right, so back to it. So we did our Git. So next thing we want to do is we want to make sure we add everything here. Git add. Now, here's the awesome thing. There are some great plugins for your code, Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio 2017, 2019, Visual Studio for Mac even now has a lot of Git stuff built into the IDE. So if you're still just a GUI person, you're like, you know what, I don't want to use the command line. You don't have to. You can always use your graphical user interface. I've gotten to where I kind of like the command line. So I use gitadd, and what that does is it stages all my files in here that have changed, have been modified. Because remember, we're now tracking things. And it says, hey, these are what we're going to commit. We're adding this to your pull request that you're getting ready to do, your commit. Here is some warnings here between line feed and control line feed. I'm not going to get into that now. That's just a difference in the way different operating systems actually handle the end of the line character. Oh, can't see that. The end of the line character. And so that's all these are dealing with. Nothing really to worry about. And so we're going to do our first commit here. We're going to commit into our repository. The commit is saying, hey, I'm going to take all these changes that I just staged and I'm going to make them the first commit, the first node in my chain to come. So every change we make, we'll do a new commit. And therefore, if we have one that just doesn't work right, we can go backwards. We can actually say, you know what, I want to go to the last commit. And all those changes I don't have to worry about. It's like an easy undo. So this first commit, it's a new message. It's pretty simple. You don't have to go into too much detail. But as you start making changes, you want to make sure these comments are meaningful. This is our initial commit, initial load of all these files. So we're going to make it pretty simple. Maximus Ponus Mr. Brower. There's Webpacket compiled files that should be in the .ignore. And package-lock and exclude bin. Very good, sir. Let's take a look at that get ignored, because I remember seeing those earlier. He's right. You do want to exclude these things. You know what? Let's go make a change. Let's go take Mr. Brower's suggestion here, and we're going to exclude the bin folder. And we're going to exclude, what's this thing? Exclude package dash lock. Now, obviously, as we start going into these, as you start adding things here, some of the stuff you install will modify this for you. Others you may have to go in and change. So right now I had to go in and update these. Pardon me. Something you never want to let get out there. This is something you want to do before you push to your first system. Push it up to the cloud. You want to make sure you get this right. You don't want to put it out there. Once something's out on the internet, it's very hard to get it out of the internet. Just ask all those people with questionable pictures. All right, so let's save that. You know what we're going to do? Hey, we got a new commit. We made a change. So go back to what we did before. Add. Oh, here we go. There we go. Git add dot. Basically, it's adding all change files. If I want to do a file by file basis, I can say, you know what? I only want to stage this one file because all the other stuff's kind of questionable. You can say, I just want to add this one file. And then we're going to do a git commit. Exclude bin. You already committed them. You'll have to git rm-cache. It will remove from tracking, but not the file system. Thank you, sir. See, this is what the community is all about. I don't know everything, and I love it when we have people getting involved like this. So please continue. Please continue to do this. And at some point, I will get this chat into our stream as soon as I get the layouts changed a little bit. And that way, all of you watching from the future on the YouTube channel can actually see all these comments come in live. Well, not live, it's pre-recorded, but you understand what I mean. Update. And he's probably going to ding me for this. But you know what? We're just going to go with it. Update git ignore. I like it. So there's another thing. There's another comment from Mr. Brower. And we'll do this real quick, and we'll just tell me what I changed and where it got merged to. So when we let's go make another quick change here. Let's see what else. You said something about it. There's webpack and compiled files that should be in the git ignore. So I don't know that I have any webpack files just yet. But let's see, what else could we do here? I just need to make a change. I'm just going to save. And so one of the other things you want to do, if you want to see what's been changed before, we can do a git status. And so it's telling us right there, this is the modified file. And it also tells me what I can do. I can use gitadd or git commit-a, which is basically committing and adding all the files that have been modified, I believe. All right. So I want to get going on this because we're at 12:55. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about the next thing we're going to do. Like I said, it's going to be about an hour and a half long stream because it is my lunchtime. So they do want me to actually do some kind of work. So let's go into this. Oh, yes. Git add dot. Basically adding that. Git commit -m change for demonstration. That's the only reason we changed that file. Boom, there we go. All right. So the next thing we want to do is we want to create a repo for it. And actually, I'm not going to do that step this time. We're going to move on because I want to keep going here. We'll try and get through this next stream, maybe Friday, maybe next Wednesday. Don't know yet. Most likely be next Wednesday. Depends on when I get time. So the next thing we want to do is we want to actually publish this to NPM. So like I said before, you have to have an NPM account. I've already done that. It's under Onyx Prime. But what we're going to do is we want to set the major version. So they've got a nice little helper command here in NPM that lets us set the NPM version. So we're going to say NPM version, if I could spell, major. Oh, there we go, version 1.0. Perfect. And then we do an NPM publish. So what the publish is going to do, it's actually going to look at that pre-publish only script we had in there earlier to run those scripts. Now, this should throw us a nice little error that we get to figure out real quick. And this is because I am running on Windows, or I'm running from DOS as well. So the RM command doesn't exist in DOS, doesn't exist in the command prompt. It's actually a Linux command. So if I was running this from Ubuntu or Red Hat or any other, or Mac OS, any other Linux-based system, this would actually work as is. But because I'm running from Windows, it doesn't quite work. So that's a change we're going to have to actually make. And so the thing now we got to figure out is, what does rm-f mean in Linux? I do know it's like remove directory, maybe remove -rf. Let's figure out what that means. Ooh, let's type in Linux with that as well. Remove files or directories. So from Linux man, pages. So remove files, and then options. Does it tell me the options? Here, force and recursive. So basically what this is going to do, it's going to loop through the directory structure, and wow, this may be affecting my stream. My frames are going up because it's downloaded a whole bunch of stuff. So what we're going to do is, it's basically, we're going to get the DOS version of this. So I've not used DOS in a long time. And so we're going to look at command, remove directory recursively. Actually, I do know this. I looked it up earlier. It's actually something I've been... RM. See, Stack Overflow is good for almost everything. If you've not used it or you're a new developer, please get familiar with Stack Overflow. You will find a lot of great answers here, and you may be spending a lot of time here. So, if you're using the classic command prompt, rd/s/q. Let's see, rd-r. Okay, yes, I think that this will work. If you're using Power, that's PowerShell. So RD, so this is kind of what we're going to be looking at here. So my favorite friend here, copy. And come over here, and we're going to go change our package.json where that script exists. It pre-published. So we're going to replace this. So the folder name, the path name is correct, but we're going to replace it with this, which should be the equivalent of rm-rf. And it's going to remove the dist. We're going to save that. Come back to our command prompt, and we'll rerun it, see what it comes up with. All right. RM system cannot find the specified file. So this says RM. I wonder if this ampersand is what's killing us. Oh, let's look at this. Let's check this out here. So this is kind of, as a developer, one of the things, as a developer who's been doing it for a while, one of the things I've developed quite a bit is my Google foo. So I would say I'm pretty good at Googling. So what we want to do is here, we want to NPM pre-publish this script Windows. All the important information is there. Pre-publish. So I already know what the pre-publish is. Command web pack. DOS, because that's what I like to call it. DOS Webpack. Actually, DOS, maybe command chaining. How to run DOS commands in a chain. So this does use the ampersand. So let's look and see if Webpack may be the one we're balking on here. Webpack is not a recognized command. So what we need to figure out how to do is getting started with Webpack. Why not? That's where everything goes. Make dir webpack -demo. All right, so there's that. There's our JSON, package.json file. So it's using Lodash, a couple other scripts here. Using npx webpack. That said, let's run npx webpack. So let's change this a little bit. Oh yes, and for the stream out there, we're going to make sure I blow things up to where everybody can read it. Again, please let me know if you can't read something. All right, did I save it? Let's make sure I saved. Yep. NPM publish one more time. Okay. Exit status 2. This is probably not a problem with NPM. There is likely. All right, so let's come here real quick. Tells us where to go look. Let's go look. All right. So what are we doing here? Args. Failed to execute pre-published. What do we got going on here? You know what? Let me see if this actually works here. I'll make changes. All right, so it throws an error because it can't find the specified file. That's just do that. Or does it want me to do that? Because really what we want to do, so that may be our issue, is it can't find the folder to remove. So if I make directory dist and I run this, let's put it back the way it's going to be in there. Does it work? Perfect. The problem is if I run it, it's going to error out. I don't want it to error out. I want it to be silent. And so let's go back. RD silent fail. Move directory. /q says it should silently fail. So let's look at this real quick. All right. Quiet. Do not display the yes or no. That's right. Not found directory in use. If you delete folders using PowerShell, then a true or false code. Blah, we saw correctly. Use an internal command. Thank you. Thank you. I want to, let's see. Oh, wait. Come back up here. RD will only delete an empty folder. RD without /s will remove the junction point itself, not the junction's destination folder. So we want to do this, but we want to make sure it doesn't fail if it can't find it. Right? Because that's what we all want. All right. Remove dir. You must use. Removes an empty directory. To delete directories with files or directories within them, you must use the deltree command. Wow, that is actually brings back some memories here. So deltree dist. Oh no, but deltree is not a command anymore. Windows XP. Windows 10 deltree. All right, so what do we got here? I love deltree. Quiet mode. Moves directory tree with S. Oh, so the /s removes all files, all that. So that is the right /s/q is the right, but how do we? So, all right, here we go. Let's do this real quick. Do I have a dist folder already? No. All right. Make directory dist. All right. Look in here. All right. Now, let's run it. Let's run the NPM publish. We'll have to figure that part out because I don't like that. Having to do that, having it fail like that, it's not a very good user experience. So we'll have to look at how we can make that better. So running right now, and I'm guessing my frame rates are probably dropping a little bit here. My Surface Book is doing well. It's keeping up. Considering I'm running all of this, streaming, everything's being run from my Surface Book. I'm actually very pleased with its performance. I mean, 0.5% dropped frame rates. It's pretty good. Hey, look at that. NPM publish. So it's out there. Developers Garage is out there. So, all right, here's what it's told me I need to do. So let's go back to this. That's on NPX. That's on that. No, man. There he is, JChip. Here we go. All right. So now that we've done that, it's saying one thing you want to remember once you publish. So remember, we did change some things. So we do want to make a git. Let's do a git status. Let's see what we have changed. So we learned earlier that, the git status does change some things. And so package.json. All right. So git add dot. All right. Git commit. Update version for publish. So if we look out here now, we do actually have a dist folder that actually has something in it, card.js, which has everything we had. So we talked about Webpack. What it's doing is taking all your dependencies and everything, and it's putting it in one large file to put out there. And so that way you don't have, your package doesn't have any dependencies anymore. And so here it almost appears that this RD that we just added here is going to work from now on because the NPX Webpack is going to create that for us. So from now on, this folder is always going to exist. It's just that first run we got to get past. All right. So now the cool thing is we should be able to run NPX. What was our package name? Did it let me name? It says Developers Garage. Oh, that's right. Yes. Developers Garage. So now if you're out there watching in Futureland or if you're watching on the stream, you can go ahead and if you've got NPX installed, you can run NPX Developers Garage, and there you go. You're going to get this beautiful business card now. We're techies now. We have our business card out on the internet for everyone to see. I can throw it in my LinkedIn profile. I can throw it out, whatever. Put it on my Twitter profile. Say, run this. Boom, you got me. You got my info. This is how you get in touch. If you're out talking at conferences and stuff like that, another great way to spread your name and get your information into your people without them having to pop their phones out, take pictures, trying to sit there, type it out real quick or write it down. All right. So the first thing, that took a lot longer than I wanted, but you know what? I learned a lot more about what I need to do and how to get things done. So we're going to talk a little bit about what we're going to do next time. So I'm not going to get started this week, but what we are going to do is we're going to start looking into a code kata. If you're not familiar with what a kata is, I know most of you probably know what code is, but a kata, if you are familiar with martial arts, a kata is basically, it's the practicing of a form or movement. And so what they do is they have certain katas in martial arts they practice over that gets their body, their muscles trained in a specific movement. Code kata is very similar. Instead of training our muscles, we're training our minds to think a certain way. So it's not about what the end result is of the kata, it's about the process and the stages we go through to learn whatever the kata is about. The first kata we're going to look at is on unit testing. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, not unit testing again. So unit testing is important. I've had my aha moment. You might not have. Once you have that moment that says, you know what, oh, this is why it's so beneficial, you're going to actually love unit testing. A lot of your managers right now probably are saying you need to be unit testing. Get those unit tests written. Don't write them for the sake of writing them. Write them so they're meaningful, so they provide value. If your unit test is just assert 1 equals 1, that's not a unit test. That's just dribble, rubbish. Make sure it provides some kind of value. Make sure you're testing the right things. So what we'll be going over next week is talking about TDD a little bit, and also going over the bowling game kata. Mr. Uncle Bob Martin, I'm not sure if he came up with it, but he has a little site on it. I'll post that. We'll talk about it next week. It does have a PowerPoint to go through. I've said, I don't know if I said it in my stream stuff, but I don't want to show PowerPoints. I like to get hands-on. I like to get going. That's how I learn things. I do PowerPoints at conferences just a little bit. I want to make sure I get into code. I like code. I hope people who are watching me and working with me like code. So that is what we're going to go to next time. So that's going to be the end of my stream. Let's transition here back to the full. All right. So, yep. So you can see that's back. Let me move my arm here. There you go. All right. So, yeah, you can see that little green screen area. Oh, I don't do that right. Okay. So, thank you all for joining me. Thank you for taking time, being patient with me. I hope you got something out of it, or at least see what the future of this stream is going to be like. I will possibly have guests someday, people who want to come in and talk about things. I've got some friends that know a lot more about some of these things that we're going to be talking about. They know a lot more about web development than I do, especially once you get outside of the Microsoft land, when you start getting into Angular, React UI, all those things. There are a lot more people that know a lot more about it than I do. We may get started in it with me, and then I may bring someone in to help explain and get us going well. If you've got an idea for what you want to do for the stream, hit me up at Onyx Prime, Rhino9791 on Twitter. Post a message out on, send me a LinkedIn, send me a DM. Hit me up any way you can. Comment on YouTube. I'm trying to find a good way to be able to cull ideas, to be able to accumulate great ideas and let people vote on it. I want you, the community, to vote on these ideas that we're doing. I've got some cool things I've got in mind, working from home. I don't think I mentioned it. I do get the option to work from home. It's kind of awesome. But there's always that time when your friends, your family, not friends, I don't have friends over here. I'm married with kids. I have kids. So I need a way to let my kids and everybody know that I'm actually streaming live. So kind of my idea is get an on-air light or some kind of red light I can put right outside my door. And I want to make it automation. Automation. I want to use some Azure IoT. I want to use some kind of IoT stuff. The moment my stream goes live, I want it to light up that light so they know. And then the moment I hit end the stream, They know I'm done. That's one idea. I've always had this idea of creating a universal shopping list. So my wife and I both have iPhones, so we use Notes and a shared list on Notes for our shopping. I want to be able to use Alexa, Google Home. I want to use Siri. I want to use Cortana, whatever digital assistant that there is that I'm using at the time or that I'm around. I want to be able to say, hey, add X to my shopping list. And boom, it's added, and both my wife and I have that list. I know some people are like, well, there's Google Shopping. There's so many other lists out there. If one already exists that you know of that does all that, let me know about it. Let me check it out. Otherwise, that may be something we work on. Those are full-fledged solutions that we can actually go run the gamut of the software development lifecycle, using all these different technologies, patterns, and practices. One of my favorite things, mobile. I think I mentioned it earlier. I do like mobile. So we will be doing probably some Xamarin in here. I do like Xamarin. A lot of people say, like, oh, just create a console app. I create a Xamarin app because I like it, and I think it's pretty easy to do. So we'll talk about that. Like I said, everything will be going on GitHub. This will be on YouTube later. Thank you for watching. If you've got any suggestions on how I can improve this stream, please let me know. Post it in the comments on YouTube, on my Twitter feed, some way. Because if this isn't providing you value, I really don't want to do it. I had a really good time actually walking through code. Hopefully you got to see a little bit of my thought process about how I'm working through things. Hopefully it helps spark your ideas. I'll get better at watching the comments. Hopefully I'll get a little bit better that they are more real time for me. That way I can stay up to date with you, and that way there's not this lag in the time you comment and the time I see it and talk about it, because there is about a 3-second delay in the stream. So by the time you post it, if I look at it, it'll be 3 seconds before I acknowledge it, at least. Right now, again, I'm working off of just everything I kind of have in my house at the moment to make this stream go. I will get better as it goes along, because I want to make sure your experience in watching and viewing it is excellent. Again, if you've got any ideas, let me know. Get them out there. We'll find a way to be able to vote on it. Maybe this is a new thing. Maybe this is a project we do, is a way to gather ideas and vote on them. That kind of sounds cool. Maybe it's on GitHub. Maybe it's somewhere else. But we'll figure it out. Again, hey, thanks everybody for joining me. This is Ryan Overton in Developer's Garage. Peace.